Duncan from Taking Care of Training, and I'm really passionate about bridging the gap between the two worlds of competition and horsemanship. For me particularly, my love is eventing, as you can see, but I love helping all shapes and sizes, whether it's from happy hack to top competition riders. And I'm really keen for this sort of divide to start to meld together and use horsemanship in a way that can improve people's performance, so that we have people having better results at competition and the horse having a nicer time at the competitions, and a more successful and harmonious partnership overall. And for people to see that horsemanship isn't just about wiggling the ropes and staying on the ground, and for people that don't ride, but actually you can really apply it to your riding to really improve you and your horse's connection, and therefore your performance. Having a more relaxed competition horse is always going to help you improve your marks in the dressage ring, or them not knock a pole because they're so tight in their body because of tension, them not want to leave the start box because they don't want to go away from home and leave what they believe is the safe place, but they trust their rider to go, it's fine, we're going off on an adventure together. So my dream is to really bridge this gap, that you aren't just one or the other, and that just good old-fashioned horsemanship can really help improve performance and connection and create harmonious relationships. I like to look at the horse as a whole when I first meet them. I like to observe them and listen to them, what feedback do they give us, and read what sort of signals and cues I'm seeing to then help me decide what's the best approach for the horse, whilst also it's really important to work alongside that particular horse's rider or owner for things that I might say to them, we need to make some small changes in them so that their horse perhaps understands what they're asking them better, and that you have a horse that's mentally engaged, mentally involved, a confident, calm, happy and relaxed horse. So I absolutely love sharing and doing what I do, and I'm excited to share with you what myself and a local top show jumper have been working on over the last few sessions with one of her top competition horses who's having a few struggles, and we're stripping it right back to basics, and with the view of getting the real basics, the real raw ingredients really good to set her up for a long, successful show jumping career. So this is Kate Pheasant, a local top show jumper, and one of her Syndicate rides, a lovely chestnut mare called Lilly. And you're going to see what we come up against when she sees the water tray underneath this fence. So you see a refusal and then quite a dramatic reaction afterwards. So Kate has been asking me to give her some help with regards to getting Lilly more confident in the ring and getting her confidence back over water trays after a fright previous to this competition. Something Kate's noticed over time is that Lilly's not very confident going into new arenas. So there's also that for us to work on, is the change of environment for Lilly to get more confident with changing environment and not just being confident at home, as well as working on the water tray issue. You saw that she knocked the pole afterwards, which is really common when they're not okay, they're tight, they're tense, they'll knock it with a front or a hind leg when they're not feeling very confident. So we've gone and hired a local indoor venue for the filming of the next few sessions, and as you can see here, my sort of first assessment was when Kate said to me about her being tense going somewhere new. My sort of first thing was I wanted to look at, how does Lilly feel about going somewhere new? Is Lilly looking to Kate for answers, or is just Lilly thinking for herself? Is Lilly thinking at all also is going to come into the equation? Is Lilly able to think and handle the questions that are being asked of her? If not, how can we help Lilly have a better experience and a more positive outcome of when she goes out, for her to go away and enjoy it and therefore perform better. So you'll see that Lilly is really quite distracted. She's very easily unfocused. Her attention often isn't where Kate's asking her attention to be. She's very spooky.
Kate does a really good job of managing her in a way that I would say Lilly is a lot of horse. She's a really big, powerful horse, which I actually think often adds to their emotions. I think a lot of horses, a lot of big sports horses or horses with a lot of power can be frightened of their own power, and the power makes them emotional, and then the emotion, depending on the type of character, a lot of horses want to run from them or shut down from their own kind of power that comes from behind, whereas Lilly gets quite worried by it, and then it develops into spooking, distractedness, disconnected, and being quite a strong-minded mare. Lilly often goes for the I'll look after myself, like I'm not okay, but I'm not going to look to Kate for answers or help. So I really felt that we needed to address the calmness about her going somewhere new and her not feeling terrified and emotional and tight about what's being asked of her when she goes somewhere new. Because if we don't have calmness at walk, trot and canter, how can we expect to have calmness over the fences? So I would like Kate to be riding on a longer rein, which actually, and I can understand it, she's a big powerful horse, it was really quite hard for Kate to initially start to do, of letting her have more rein, letting her have a little bit more head, because it goes against everything we feel in us. When we can feel something bubbling and boiling underneath us, it can be really hard to lengthen those reins and let that horse's coiled spring actually decompress. It can feel like you're going to let the coiled spring out in a negative way, but you can already see by slightly longer rein, Lilly has started to lengthen her frame and soften. And then I've got Kate doing an exercise where I've said to Kate, if Lilly is not with you, if Lily's ear is not with you, if one side of her body is not soft, if she is not letting you have access to a hind foot, letting you have access to your legs on her side. Often a horse like Lilly makes you feel like you do not want to put your leg on. You feel like you want to keep your legs off for the fear if you put your leg on, what is there going to be an explosion come out of it? So it's really important that we get to where Lilly can understand and accept the leg as a positive cue, not negative in any form, and also not for her to run from it. So I just started with an exercise where I said to Kate, I want her to feel like she can put her inside leg on, and that Lilly will just give her inside hind, and if she doesn't, if she braces, then just to lift up with the inside rein, so not back. So back would be compressing the spring even more. We want to let the spring out and find some relaxation. So I said just lift up until you're just feeling her want to soften, and then soften to her. And often if we just soften just before they're thinking it, I liken it as we offer the olive branch first. We kind of go, you could soften, and they go, oh yeah. Whereas if you hang on to them, they just brace back against you. And sometimes it's being like, look, I'm going to be the bigger person that offers the olive branch first. We have that knowledge. So offer the olive branch first for them to then go, oh yeah, I could be soft, I could let go. And you can see I deliberately kept Kate down the far end, because she was finding the end that she's approached now, Lilly was finding far more stressful, because she was like, there's a filler that looks like a water tray, and there is a water tray also on the ground, and she was just more spooked up this end. So going against what human nature often wants to do is go in and face these things head on. I said, actually, we need to work where she can learn best first. We need to start to implement a little bit of relaxation before we go and try and tackle it where she's finding it hardest. So this is just session one. We've done a fair bit of groundwork with her with the tarp on the ground and crossing water trays on the ground, and she's a lot more confident on the ground. We now need to transfer that to the saddle, and she actually has a lot more negative association in the saddle than she does on the ground, because she has had a fright with the water tray where she came to a large fence, slightly off it, and took a pole down and in right in front of her, and really sort of stumbled on landing and really scared herself. So we now need to get her confidence and trust that what Kate asks of her in the saddle is okay. And Lilly really kind of wants to look after herself. When Lily's not sure, she really believes that her idea is the best idea to keep Lilly safe, and we need to get to where she looks to Kate for answers and solutions, and also that she is in a better place mentally and not so tight and worried about things. So you can see that I've had Kate play a bit of almost like a large figure of 8 and playing a little bit of retreat and then approach. So we have we've retreated to the comfier end for Lilly, and then we have approached the end that she's found harder, and then I've had her go back to where it's easier again for Lilly. Keep revisiting where the horse finds it easier, so she doesn't get overwhelmed by staying up this end that is definitely tougher for her emotionally. And you can see, like, she spots that filler up quite a way off, and she's looking at it and going, oh, I'm not sure. And you can see, like, particularly here, she braces against Kate, and I'm saying that inside leg needs to go on until she softens, then let her out and let her take that frame out, down and forwards. And you can see that Lilly struggles to maintain it for very long, particularly when she's working around the fences that she's not confident with. And for me, ultimately, if Lilly can't walk, trot and canter around these fences, we have no means to be jumping her over them until she can happily work around them calmly. I feel that we don't have business to start jumping them. And so I really admire Kate for being very humble and stripping it right back to basics with Lilly. She really believes that she's going to be a real top competition horse, which is why she really wants to put the effort in now to help Lilly have a successful career. And you can see here, I slightly had to change what Kate wanted to do. When Lilly initially went, oh no, I can't go between that wall and the filler, I said to Kate, circle her. Don't make her go past it. Lily's expecting to be made to go past it. And I said, nope, don't go past it until she softens on a circle and she's ready to be connected for you to ask her to go through it. So you can see here, I've just sped it up a bit because you can see it took a while before we felt that Lilly was in a place where she wouldn't just bolt through that small gap. And she wasn't okay, she wasn't perfect through it, but I felt like she was trying. And again, she questions Kate here. She's like, I'm not entirely sure. But it was better. She was able to give her a soft rein through it, give her a rub. And you can see that by starting to ask Lilly to be soft, to soften, to connect to Kate rather than always trying to outfocus her with other stuff, you can see she's getting some really nice moments. And this is just halfway through session 1. We really need Lilly to feel like she can move around this arena and not be worried. You can see here as we introduce the trot. Now, for Lily's not a small horse, she's probably, I'd say 16.3, 17 hands. And you can see that her trot is quite tense, and for a horse that, as lovely as she is, she almost really shortens her stride to almost like a pony stride. And we want to get the best out of Lilly, and actually also for the health of her body. When she's holding this much tension, it's not going to be good long term for her body to be holding this amount of tension when she's worked. So same approach in the trot of when she disconnects, when she feels tight. I like to have the filter. I often say to clients when they're riding, feel for where the brace is. Have a filter of where is the brace. So right now we have a brace in the mouth, in the jaw. I then said to Kate, right, inside leg on, then lift the rein to say, could you soften the jaw? And it's got to come from your seat and leg first. Your rein is there to support you. Now, some of you might notice that Kate does have a drop noseband on Lilly. And whilst those that will know me will know that I'm very keen, and I always think less is more. I really don't like shutting their mouth. I feel like their mouth is somewhere that they can express themselves. But you can see with Lilly here, like, because she crossed past the middle of the figure 8 then, she's actually still got enough access to open her mouth. Now, the drop is actually in place because for those who don't know, the drop was initially invented to help stabilise the bit in the horse's mouth, and due to Lilly's mouth shape, for those that are familiar with actually learning a little bit more about bitting, and whilst I believe it's not about the bit, I also really believe that it's like wearing an uncomfortable bra for a horse. If they have got a bit in that is not suitable for their shape of mouth, and their shape of mouth can really, really vary, it's really important and can make dramatic differences. I believe in keeping it simple, keep a simple snaffle in, but there's so many variations these days that can really suit their mouths. Now this suits Lily's mouth, but Lily actually doesn't like a lot of movement, so the drop is actually there just to help stabilise it. It's not there for a control thing by any shape or means. Ultimately, my goal would be that we can get to where we get Lily confident enough in the contact that we don't need it there to support her. But right now, this is a moment in time of her education. It's not forever, and I've learnt with horses we always need to stay really open-minded and not get fixated on just thinking it's one rule forevermore. So as you can see, going back to what we're watching, Kate's been using the figure of 8, and then just there I had her circle because I felt like she needed to get her soft on the left circle before returning to the right, but it's the same principles. And again, ultimately our goal is to get more rein out, to have Lily taking more neck out and relaxing a bit. Lily does like to get a little bit deep at times, and almost I would say she mentally hides a bit behind the bridle. So it's about getting Lily's confidence for her to let go, take the bridle out and forward, soften over her back, connect with Kate rather than being overstimulated and distracted by the environment, and trusting that Kate wouldn't move her around somewhere that was dangerous, that Kate isn't moving her around a bunch of fences that are going to be harmful to Lily, but that she's just moving her around and there's some obstacles in the way, nothing more than that. And you can see that like Lily's trot's not quite tracking up, but it's definitely softer than it was at the beginning. It's definitely not quite so short and choppy. Still has a way to go. And here she is, she's just come back to walk, and she's really starting to let go, which was really nice to see. Again, she's still a little bit deep and hiding, and I said to Kate, I want her to like just encourage her to use her core more and lift up and take the nose out a little bit, and yeah, be a little bit braver about taking her nose out in front. It's just a little bit of a sign of lack of confidence, and also Lily's understanding of previous education. But I like the fact that you can just see she's able to walk through that gap now and stay connected to Kate and start to go, okay, yeah, I can do this. And obviously a walk's going to be easier than trot's going to be easier than canter for Lily, in the sense of the faster they go, the more their emotions come up. As a prey animal, they have canter and gallop in there for when they need to get away from danger. So of course they're associated with more adrenaline than their walk and trot. But I really like how soft this walk is coming now. It's really nice. And even when she's questioning Kate, it's a far softer question, and it's a question where she's happier to say yes rather than say, I'm not sure and I'm going to look after myself. So we've headed back up to the trot now, and what I really like is she's more uphill in her frame. Kate's adjustments then were smaller. She's freer across her back. She's nearly starting to track up. And she's really starting to handle where Kate's moving her around and her not get overwhelmed. It is still early days. It's still, this is just session 1. It's not going to be perfect, but it's about Lily making a change. And for me, it's about, if that horse leaves this arena today feeling a little bit better than she started, that for me is my ultimate goal. You can see again, we've just kind of changed ends of the arena, and she had a bit of like, well, I was working up that end and I've come back down this end. But Kate's now starting to have some tools to go, hurry up and relax, Lily. So like this can start to become her cue of hurry up and relax. The trot has slowed because Lily really rushes. Now, if you try and hold Lily back, she's a big, powerful horse, you're actually going to create more tension. And I said it needs to be Lily's idea to back off. It needs to be Lily's idea to slow down, so that she thinks it's her idea, there's going to be less tension. And as I just mentioned with the, I just said it's early days, don't worry about the inconsistency. I don't want people to ever, when they're doing this themselves, don't be disheartened when you think, oh, my horse has made a change, and then they go, goes backwards a bit. It's okay. It's not solid enough for Lilly to be able to be really consistent. Consistency could take quite some time, and that's really up to the horse, depending how much time you put in, how consistent you are with what you put in. Will all make changes as to, or differences to how quickly your horse will make changes. But you can just start to see that Kate's able to get her trying to relax much quicker by talking to her feet, by getting her mind, by influencing Lilly in a way that makes sense to Lilly, rather than just trying to dominate the situation and telling Lilly she's just got to get on with it. We're going, how can we work with Lilly in a way that it's Lily's idea to soften? It's Lily's idea to think back to Kate rather than just take over. And I really like this trot that she's just trotting down the long side now. She's up, her nose is out, her back is starting to be soft and swinging. Still not convinced by the water tray, and that's okay. It's okay. Rome was not built in a day. We just want to get to where they can have a conversation rather than Lilly feeling she has to take over and look after herself. But it's nice how quickly she's returning to being softer, not holding on to it forever. So I was really pleased with how session 2 started. Lilly came in was way happier, way softer, way quicker to relax, happy to move around the arena. We didn't have to stick to one end to keep her confidence. She was moving around the fences. Yep, there was the odd time she had a little look and got a little bit of tension, but overall it was so much better. It was so lovely to see. She was softer, she's swinging through her back more, her frame's more open, she's got a longer stride, much happier horse. And even when she looked at stuff, she was much quicker to come back to Kate. It was really good. And happy enough to canter, which last time you'll notice there was no canter work because she was just such a coiled spring. It didn't seem like it was going to be a productive thing to ask. And Kate's in a light seat, which Kate said to me she would never normally canter this horse in a light seat, because if she jinks, if she spooks, she's so big, quick and sharp that Kate does not want to come out the side door, so she normally sits on her to manage the canter much more, whereas Lily's taking responsibility for her own emotions more, which was brilliant. So here we're introducing the water tray, and we're just saying, can you have a sniff? And she goes, oh, I'd rather look over here, thanks. So I just said to Kate, just instigate her just having a look. She hasn't got to go over it, just would like her to have a little look and think about what it is we're asking her to think about. Really nice. So she sniffs again, has a look, and then after another good try, I kind of say to Kate, okay, once she's had another sniff, turn her away from the fence, take her away, because they often get overwhelmed and think we're going to keep pushing for the next step, we're going to keep pushing for the next question, and actually by just turning her away, it just gives Lilly a chance to breathe, process, oh, they liked it when I sniffed and engaged with the obstacle and the pressure came off and I could come away, and it just gives her a mental break before returning in a much more confident approach this time. It doesn't teach them to refuse or run away, you've instigated it rather than it being her idea. And you can really see she's curious, she wants to, and even there she's thinking shallow, and I really want it to be Lily's idea to cross, that Lilly goes, well, they keep kind of suggesting me to engage with this thing down here that I'm not sure of. She's had a scare in the past, she's done a lot on the ground, and she's definitely actually happier crossing it on the ground than she is in the saddle, which again, as I mentioned earlier, she's had a bit of a scare under the saddle with a jump that didn't go quite to plan, and it scared her, so her trust when the rider's above her is less than when the rider's on the ground, helping her from the ground. You can see she's still rushed a bit, and then unfortunately she then puts her foot on it, looks at something, scares herself, and had that whoopsie, which was really unfortunate. I felt it, we did feel it set her back a bit, but it just shows how fragile the confidence and trust is at the early stages, and how quickly things can kind of, fragile and can get damaged easily. And you just see me here go, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to put myself the other side of the tray, give her a little bit of confidence with a human on the ground, And you could see immediately she went, oh, yeah. And then she went, oh, I can't, just really frightened myself. Kate reassures her and just says, could you just think about trying again? How about you have a go? Again, I just engage with her and just get her out of that tucking her hiding state of mind. And then she crosses, bless her. And you could see it was tentative. So it definitely flustered her a bit by scaring herself so much. So rather than creating more of a problem and trying to sort of push to keep going, like all about the water tray, we ended up breaking it down and we've put some poles to the side of it. And you can even see with poles, I feel like what I learnt here about Lilly was, I was like, poles change how Lilly feels. As well as it's not just the water tray it's isolated to. I definitely feel like she doesn't need to jump those 2 poles on the floor. They're plenty small enough that she could trot them. So it's all information that we kind of go, okay, there's more, we're unpicking the layers and there's more than we first perhaps chatted about. So I'm just looking again for her to find a rhythm in and out. The fact that Lilly takes over and often canters on landing tells me where she is emotionally. So she over jumps, wants to land in canter and take over. When it started to go well with the pole, we added a cross pole, because interestingly Kate then said to me that quite often she will have an odd stop at like the sort of the first jump or two, and I thought, yeah, this is way deeper than just the water tray. It's also showing in actually just jumping a single fence as well. So what we're working on here is if you trot in, you trot out. So where she wants to take over and canter off, we want to interrupt that and say, can you come back to me mentally? One of the challenges Kate was having with her in the ring was as the fences were getting bigger, your canter needs to be adjustable. And she felt that, when she started, she was sort of jumping newcomers and the fox hunters, that as you want to adjust that canter, Lilly just wasn't there mentally, or mentally, emotionally, or physically. She wouldn't come back with any sort of physical suggestions from Kate, because she physically found it too hard and also mentally wasn't connected enough. So it's really important here we get the raw ingredients of going, can Lilly just learn to trot around a really small course of fences and be confident and present? And I still feel there's a fair bit of adrenaline attached to Lilly, even though she's trotting in and cantering out and it's looking better. I still feel that we are unpicking things and there's a long way to go before we get real relaxation over the fences. And I'm pleased with her trot in between the fence. It's coming back nicer. But then she kind of predicts that Kate's going to bring her into the fence, and you see that tension come up. So it's really important. I said to Kate, don't present her when you have that tension. Get the relaxation back. Much, much better approach. And landing. And just come back to Kate nicely. Really good. So it's all about looking for her not running on adrenaline. Something I learned really early on in my eventing days, which from Lucinda Green, was they need to be able to walk a ditch, to jump it confidently. And she's really hot on it. And it's something I've always taken forward to my teaching, that they really need to be able to jump calmly. And for me, Lilly here is still on adrenaline, but it's about rewarding little changes. And she has made huge changes with regards to how she's feeling about the water tray. So it's all progress, and we need to reward Lilly when she's made a really good change for her. So she still jumped it, landed in canter, but came back quicker, so we quit here for the day. So session 3 was, I would say, a fairly challenging session and a very interesting session where we learned lots about where Lilly's at. So here you can see Kate has just started with, she's just come in and she just walked her over the tray, and it's interesting to see, because I would say where we've worked at home, she's definitely more confident. Kate's trays at home are softer. This is more of a hard tray than a soft tray. So a little bit of difference. She's not at home. which can make quite a difference to them. And there's no harm in doing this. I thought it was really good, never a negative thing to get off or to start on the ground. And what I really liked about the beginning of this session was you can see Kate's in canter now, and there's still moments of tension, but she's coming back much quicker. Kate's in a light seat. The canter is starting to look more adjustable, which is so important for the height of fences that these guys were competing at. And you need that adjustability, and that's what she didn't have. And it's really nice that Kate feels she can get out of the saddle, have a soft, loose canter. Now this is where, for me, it got interesting. This was the first fence that we asked her to jump. Now, I would have said I felt the trot could have been more connected. I felt it disconnected a little bit. You can't see it from the angle that the camera was at, but from where I was stood, I had said to Kate, just circle, but she hadn't heard me in time, so she didn't. But so I said, go away and get the trot back, get the connection back. I found it really interesting that as soon as the thought of a jump came in Kate's head, I felt that Lily's trot changed. And you can see she came the second time and she jumped it. Again, we're still taking off and landing in canter. Better jump the second time, doesn't over jump it quite so much. And then I'm like, we need to calm the trot back down. We need to get that trot back to the trot you had before we involved the fences. So really interesting discovery for me. This is way deeper than just a water tray. It's actually about how she feels about any single fence, and I'm guessing that adding a tray, adding a filler just heightens how she feels, as you can see here. Lilly has been competing at newcomers and fox hunters, so 110, 120 fences bigger than jump offs, and asking her to trot. These fences are at 90, so for Lilly really not big at all. And asking her to trot to them, she was like, I cannot do it. I can't jump from trot. If I'm not on full-blown adrenaline, I can't. So here we are, just letting her have a sniff, giving her a moment. And you can see she's just everything's high alert. She's so flinchy, which tells us just how full her cup is. And you can see as Kate represents her, the tense trot is back. We've got the little pony trot, like the short striding trot, and this big horse has come back. The head's up and hollow. She's disconnecting a lot more. And while she's quicker to come back, she's coming back, but with more tension than I would like for our end result. My end result would be that Kate can be on a softer rein, longer rein, a softer trot. And Lilly not getting so stressed about the whole situation. And you can just see, just said to Kate, just keep working on your trot, and don't worry if she can't. Now what we did here was I said, let it be Lily's idea, go back to Lily's idea, because by interrupting her from cantering, it seemed to really highlighted a lot of stuff. So we let her canter a few, just to take Lily's idea and then come back to the trot. But you can see, the jump was very babyish, and then you come back to trot and she says, I can't. When we slow things down, and the trot's still fairly adrenalised, I would say, but it's less adrenalised than the canter, so we're starting to see how Lilly feels about things. If she can't do it on adrenaline, there's a lot of I can't, which then becomes a won't. So she comes in the canter. She's got more experience at jumping from canter, I imagine, and so she was able to head it at canter. So we come back to trot and go, can you do an easier fence at trot? Which, yeah, she managed. So I then said to Kate, let's keep the fences small, and ideally I just want our goal to be, can Lilly just trot round, trot in, trot out over a small course of fences. That is our goal. And for me, that trot is a loose swinging trot, no more tension on the reins, Kate not having to do so much to interrupt and get her back. And so she manages the first one well. She's a little bit spooky. And then what really showed up is just how not okay Lilly is about fences. As soon as they get any more complicated than the straightforward cross bowl, we saw refusal after refusal. And I just said to Kate, just got to get her mind back and calm everything down. We want to get her confident in her own skin. She's really not confident in her own skin, which is why you're getting all of this no, you know, and you just see she checks out. She checked out miles ago from the fence. So I was like, we really need to get her back on board and trying. And so, like, there's no point telling a horse off in this situation. It doesn't make sense to them. We just made the question simpler. We need to get Lily's confidence. This is stemming from a lack of confidence. Just because she's jumped bigger fences in the past does not mean that she's just being difficult. This is us, we're stripping back the layers and getting to the root cause. Now, you can see we start to make a bit of progress, so we built them back up again. Still see she's that hesitant, and then she's trying for Kate, which is good. You can't ask more than for her to try. But you can see it's not as harmonious as we'd like it to look. She's bracing against Kate, she's wanting to canter off, she doesn't want to stay in trot, she's wanting to take over a lot of the time. Everything's still adrenalised, her body's tight and tense again, and again she overjumps still, and she's trying here, but there's still a lot of overjumping rather than her calming down, realising she doesn't need to put quite as much effort in over these diddy jumps, and realising she can trust and listen to Kate and trust her own body. So just want to stay on a pattern so that Lily starts to just recognise we're just coming to the sort of fences on a pretty familiar pattern, trot in, come back to trot, so that she trots in and trots out, gets to where she can be present throughout the whole process. You can see she really wants to take over and rush her way through the questions. I'm really still quite sceptical of a couple of the fences that she likes the look of less. And here she's unsure, but she does go when Kate goes, could you try for me? And again, Kate puts her leg on, so don't run through my leg backwards. It wasn't a leg to go on of you've got to go. It's the same type of leg I'd put on if my horse is about to spook on into a car. It's really important they do yield, but I don't want her to feel she was made to go over the tray. So we gave her a little break here, let her have a little think. We felt like she'd made a slight shift from saying no to absolutely everything. We managed to put the fillers back in and build the jumps back up. Still small, but you know, put the fillers in. A little break, and then we've come back to it because I still felt like I didn't want Lily to go home. I still felt that she could make a bigger change. It's really important for me that Lily leaves the arena feeling better than she started, particularly about the fences. Can she start to feel less adrenalised? If she does feel pressure, not see it as a negative and want to just say no, start to go, okay, I think I can try, I think I can be mentally present. And it's interesting because we've had a little break, had time for the adrenaline to come down. She was surprised that the wall was presented to her again. So I just said to Kate, just turn around and come again. Make no fuss of it. Doesn't matter. Lily just needs to feel successful right now. Jumps, but over jumps. But you've got to, right now, we just need to go, thank you for trying, Lily. See, the trot's still pretty tense. Now, this was progress. She got 2 strides in that double. Whereas before, it's a tiny double. It's a 1-strided double, but it's with the fences that low, she doesn't need to get 1 stride in. It's much better that actually it shows she's not over jumping, that she got 2 strides in. Still see she's wanting to take over and get into canter so that she can be in control and hurry up over the jump. Again, you can see the little staccato legs, wanting to hurry up and get over the fence. And we're just going, Lily, we just want you to come in and come out calmer and her feel less stressed about the situation. Trot's come back nicer there. I was pleased with how she came back to it. It took a while, but she came back and that was a much softer jump over the wall. So there's you can see the relationship between the softer trot and the softer jump and the more confident her jump is. A little bit wanting to canter, but again we get 2 strides, didn't over jump the filler coming out. Much better. Starting to make a little change here. And this will not be solid. This will take a while for this to become really solid. A lot of repetition, a lot of Lilly knowing that she can start to trust her body, start to think through the process, not be adrenalised through the process, and start to trust Kate through the process. Now, there's also an element for, it's really important that whilst we're changing things, that I look after the rider's confidence as well. Now, Kate is an extremely established rider, so it seems mad to kind of say that I'd be talking about Kate's confidence here, but it can be really hard when you think that horse has been out there jumping good big tracks, and we have stripped it right back to sort of a, I don't know what these are at, 70 centimetres. And we're finding lots of little holes of lack of confidence in the horse, so it can be really tough. So there's times where I need to meet Kate in the middle and go, okay, let's just get something that feels good for both of you, but still keep in mind what our end goal is. So a couple of times when Kate's let her canter to her fences, I've not made a big deal out of it. It's the same with horses. It's a relationship that's between all 3 of us. It's important for everybody going forwards that we maintain confidence, because the more confident Kate stays, the more she's going to offer that confidence to Lilly. You can see we've started to get a nice rhythm, and I think Kate's feeling that she feels more confident, which is great. And it's really nice because I feel like she's definitely connecting back to Kate quicker. That was less bracy into that fence that time. And you can see the importance of sticking on a pattern for a while and not quitting too early. If we were to quit too early here, we would definitely finish on adrenaline, which wouldn't be great for Lilly. Now, this takes her by surprise. Lilly was not expecting this. You could see she came around the corner and was like, haven't jumped it yet from this way, where did that come from? So she's seen it now, but I probably should have said to Kate, give her a little bit longer, because she comes around again and says, whoa, no, it took me by surprise, I'm really not ready for that one, I wasn't expecting it. So here is where I'm talking about looking after Kate's confidence. I've not made a fuss that Kate's chosen to canter. So I let her jump it in canter, because I know Kate knows the plan. She'll come back and approach it in trot when she thinks it's appropriate. Yeah, and she's kind of got the trot back. She's, you can see Kate's looking for her to be softer, and she pops it in trot really nicely. And the tray. What's really nice is actually the tray seemed far less of a problem than everything. Like, we've just kind of seen a whole package here today, and we decided to finish there where I felt Lilly felt good. So you'll see in this session, it's a fairly short clip, and I'm just going to touch on a few things that Kate and I chatted about during this session, and what this session was about for Lilly. So this session was sort of our last session of the filming for the showcase, so I wanted to just consolidate a few things. What was really nice was just seeing how Lilly came in, probably the most relaxed I'd seen her in the arena. She was calm in trot and canter, things were looking really adjustable, riding around the fences, looking like they could have a conversation in all 3 gates, which was brilliant. So what Kate and I discussed with this session was, I actually said to Kate, I said, reviewing last session, I said, I think we need to do 2 things. I think you need to add in more reward and motivation for Lilly by using some treats before and after the questions. before to get her engaged, after to really, really make it high value and tell her how awesome she is. And I also said I feel like you should go back a little step and actually just practice working at home and trotting a course at home. So perhaps asking her the question of trotting a small course away from home really was quite challenging for her. So let's go, well, can we get that at home? Can we get that good at home before asking her to do that somewhere new? Because we've only just got to her being able to go somewhere new and be calm. So let's get the next question better at home before asking her it here again today. So we kept the jumping stuff pretty simple and straightforward here, and as I'm chatting you're going to see Kate working through some pieces with her. Kate and I also discussed the physical sides of things. So I always think it's really, really important to look at why a horse is not always doing perhaps what our idea is. Now sometimes it's just lack of communication and we need to find a way to communicate with them better. However, I've worked with a lot of cases, and if I feel that I've not seen a significant change in a period of time that I think I really trust and know that doing what we've been doing, the horse should have made more of a change by now. Now if I feel that happens, that is when I'll go, I really feel there's something physical going on. So Kate and I discussed that. I've said there's definitely things that make me think ulcers with her. The spookiness is quite a typical sign of ulcers. While she is on a gut supplement, that won't get rid of ulcers. It would just manage the gut after being treated for ulcers. So whilst ulcers could be a possibility, as could she's got a scar right above her top right fore, at the top of the right fore. It's quite a bit of lacking of muscle. She's not symmetrical up there, and talking with, we've had a chat with the physio as well, and the physio agreed that actually where she's at right now, they're breaking down some of the scar tissue, which is all going to change her balance and change how she's feeling about her body. And I believe there's a real connection between a horse's balance and their emotional and mental state. When a horse doesn't feel great in their body, they often feel very emotional about it. So we've had a chat about that, and we're not ruling it out. So should Kate think she needs to look into it further, she will. So you can just see that we wanted this session to just be about Lily feeling really kind of positive. Now what was interesting about this session was I felt that she was probably the most confident and calm I'd seen her, like having a standstill. I'm not sure I've seen this horse without, when the rider's on board, stand still where the reins are loose, and it be a standstill that lasts and isn't just a momentary, she stood and then she fidgeted. So I actually felt today was a huge shift in Lily, and often sometimes this is where you really sort of, it can be quite a challenging period of the sort of training where Lily's now feeling confident enough and she's present enough that we're really starting to, perhaps get how Lily feels. When you remove the adrenaline and she's not doing stuff on adrenaline, you're really going to see how she feels. Now, this is something I like to do with horses when I'm training, is finish on something easier. So it might be if you're loading and you've been loading and you've got to where the ramp's gone up and it's gone well, finish loading where you don't close the ramp. Do an easy one to finish on, just like we did there with finishing by just going over the water tray. Now it's moved on to, so this is a little update clip from Kate. She's working at home. Idea is, can they just trot a small course of fences? And you can see that this trot is still not as soft as it is pre-poles or pre-jump, but you can see she's starting to realise she can trot in and she can trot out over the raised poles, which is good. And again, she came back to Kate a lot quicker. So even though she jumped the plank, she came back a lot quicker. And so our plan is, as I mentioned earlier, is for Kate to play with this at home until Lilly can really trot in, trot out, start to build up a bit more height, start to build up a bit more question with regards to whether it's a filler underneath, a water tray underneath, and just slowly take the time it takes to really get the raw ingredients of this correct, so that Lily's brain is present, that she starts to let Kate in and they can act as a team rather than both of them having their own ideas and not working on the same page. And Lilly realising that it can be a team of two and working together. Now that's a little water tray that she just popped over really sweetly, so huge progress. And although it might seem like we've completely stripped back the height, I'm now looking at Lily's trot thinking that trot's improving. It's improved in this few little couple of minutes. Everything's starting to look softer to me and going in the right direction, which is really lovely to see. Please do like and follow our pages. I'm Taking Care of Training. Kate is Kate Pheasant Equestrian. Please do follow to see Lily's progress and watch what she gets up to next. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.